Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam. Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. We are back for the 9 o'clock hour. We had a great time at 8 a.m. talking about getting ready for this evening at 5. And I look just as crooked as I can look here with this camera. But anyway, we have a guest this morning that's coming in to talk about his project. And you all know I like the organic, the authentic space. And so we were getting ready to talk in the when he comes on early. You know, I have guests come in early sometimes just to make sure we're all set. But I want to encourage you all to go ahead and share today's live, because this is a wonderful project. It's a topic that we've talked about in this space and that is personal to me as well. And so the artistry and the way that Keith is raising this conversation, I think, is definitely awesome. And so without further ado, we're going to bring our guest in this morning, Keith Mascal, if I'm pronouncing it right. Mascal or Mascal?
Mascal.
Mascal. Okay, see, we want to get right. Okay.
It's Bayesian. You know what I'm saying? It's Bayesian. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you get us all together, sir. But go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm excited to have you here. You've from Get just been very encouraging, and I appreciate you, man. But introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And today our theme is Thankful Thursdays. And so close your introduction with one word that expresses why you're thankful this morning. I know that's a lot.
That's okay. But
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? That's why it's Java with Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? You gotta make sure to have whatever's in your cup to keep you awake so you can
let me see the cup. I thought I had branding. Okay.
Look, here's the thing. We'll have
all I got is a red cup. You got the logo. Hold on. I have this sitting here for a reason. We got this one.
There you go. That's the one thing with branding and everything. We can talk about that offline.
Oh yeah. That's not important.
I mean, I've seen how you've gone from regular hats to new era hats. So I understand what's going on right now with it. So that personal branding is important. But what's up, everybody? Good morning. Very happy and excited and blessed to be here. My name is Keith Mascal. I'm an actor, producer, mental health advocate, and founder of the Triggered Project. I'm basically telling my story as a survivor of abuse, survivor of sexual abuse, and using my art to do it in 3 different ways. It was important that I dealt with this. It was important that I released it. It was important that I spoke for folks who could not speak, number in my family. And and so I have a one-man show called Triggered Life, which is now turned to a movie, which will be showing at the Roxbury Film Festival tomorrow, 5:30 to 7. Shout out to Lisa Simmons. Thank you so much for creating a platform to tell our story and tell our stories. That she's been doing for a number of years. Big shout out to John Alawali Adekoje, the main writer on the piece and the director. So we have that. Then we have a Living a Triggered Life podcast that I have with my wife, Roxanne Mascal, who is a psychotherapist and social worker. And we're talking about what it's like to be in a marriage and have trauma histories and be triggered. No one ever talks about that. And that's something that's incredibly important because it's the extension of the show, because I talk so much about my feelings and being vulnerable and things like that. But how does it affect a relationship? And we've been in this wonderful relationship for a long time, and people always ask us how we do it. And so it was important for me to be able to, for us to tell our story, and how we deal with it, because it's something that just no one talks about. Never mind in the Black community, no one talks about it in general, how to deal when you get triggered, right? And that reality of us being responsible for our own ish, but then coming together and being able to have these wonderful conversations when things happen is important. So we're on all platforms and things like that. And then lastly, I have an inner monologue sneaker art project, because I am a sneakerhead, no question. And it's connected to my trauma though. And so, yeah, it's connected to my trauma. So when we were going back and trying to create the show with John, I realized that way back when abuse had started, and I went to gym, and my gym teacher gave me a pair of Nike cleats for soccer. And all of a sudden I felt different and powerful, and I didn't feel any pain anymore. And I felt like I could defend myself.
Well, let's back up a little bit, because
Right.
if folks are really listening, they hear that you are sharing a story, and presumably about your past and history with being sexually abused.
Yes.
And I put that in the comments there because, in the word, and it's funny because moving in the space of violence prevention, we tend to use that word triggered when we talk about trauma, and they're trying to get us away from that because, trigger and whatnot. But
Of course.
I put that a note down at the bottom, because for some folks, this topic may remind them, trigger them around their own abuse or whatever. And so not whatever, but their own abuse and things that come with that. And so tell us, a little bit about your journey, and with where you're comfortable, how you got from what you have been through. And I would presume that though you're championing it is active, that you're, accomplishing or overcoming, the impact. And so, sir, please tell us how you got on the road, and why this subject is so personal, and why you are using your artistry to ensure that this conversation happens. Because as Black men, we don't talk about a lot, but this is one of them that we definitely don't talk about.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And my word is blessed.
Okay.
That's my word. My word is blessed, because I'm supposed to be here right now having this conversation with you in this blessed space. And I'm blessed to be doing this work. And I'm blessed to work with such a great person, John Adewale Adekoje, who just really holds everything down, and, be able to work with my wife, who's phenomenal. These are all just blessings. So I try to be thankful every day. So that's my word. But I got to a point where it started to destroy my life. I'll keep it 100.
Yes, sir.
My trauma kid was running things, right? Which is something that happened.
Your trauma kid. What does that mean?
Trauma kid, my hurt little boy that's inside me, little boy that got abused, right? Was running things. Because sometimes that's what happens, right? Something happens, we get activated, right? We can talk about what happened to us as the injury, as my guy Royal Harris in Portland, Oregon says. And if we're not taking care of that hurt little person in us, inside of us, then sometimes they're running things, right? And my little trauma kid was running things. And it got to the point where I had to do something, because my boundaries were in place. I was incredibly unhappy and depressed. It was in the way of my career. And I also, it also got me in a little bit of trouble too. It was a really low point for me. And I was around some people that I should not have been around, and which wasn't safe for me. And I had a choice to make with how I was gonna move forward. And I chose my relationship, I chose myself, and I chose to be better. And I, got myself into therapy. And I started that journey. And that was probably 10 to 12 years ago that I started that journey of really trying to be authentic with who I was, but also be able to tell myself the truth,
Yes, sir.
with what had happened. And I was abused by two people, one female and one male, both family members, and that made it really difficult to uh, to come to grips with, because sometimes it happens when the abusers in families, then the whole family, in terms of how we look at it, in terms of the structure, is blown up, right? And we know there's a lot of the survival tactics for us as African Americans and Black and brown people in general is to tuck and keep moving,
Yes,
right?
sir.
That's how we've survived so long. But at certain points, it doesn't work for the generations, the newer generations anymore. And me being able to speak the truth, it's just been really difficult. But being able to having the opportunity to go and get into therapy, which was difficult in general, just to find someone,
Yeah,
which is how Roxanne got involved, because I had to go to her, and she's in the field being a psychotherapist and a social worker, and we couldn't find anybody. We couldn't find anybody, and she was like, "Look, like, we got to do something about this."
yes, sir.
And but making that decision to for me to to make the attempt to be my authentic self, which means that I wasn't going to hide from myself with what had happened. I wasn't going to hide from Roxanne in some ways, because she knew about the female, but the male was a harder to deal with, and
Yep.
so I needed to make sure to talk to her about it. But also, I wasn't going to be silent anymore,
Yes, sir.
right? I wasn't going to be protecting. I was actually protecting folks, and leaving myself out there. Um, but just how I was rolling around in the world, no one really saw it, but it wasn't who I was. It started to define me as a person, and I had to try to figure it out. And I was blessed to have, I call him EW, to have someone who's a little bit older than me, and it worked and it clicked. And so that started us on the journey of healing. And and I'm still on that journey, most definitely. It's not like everything's okay all the
Yep.
time. And when we had the opportunity to start doing this work, involved in a short, as well, that we were involved in, that John brought me in on, we were like, okay, here's the project. Let's try to see what we can do. And then it turned into, yes, we're gonna try to work to try to do a stage version. And then,
Before you go too deep, let me
yeah,
ask you,
yeah,
along the journey and either before or while the abuse was happening, were you already into the arts? And
yes.
where did the correlation come from? The journey you were on, where did it click to where you were already in the arts, you were being open about not being silent anymore? And I have to say thank you so much. And though it's been 10 or 12 years, I've told my story a few times. And I just want to thank you for being transparent, and brave, and coming into this space and sharing your story and being so open, because there are a lot of people that are dealing with the same thing
Yes,
but
sir.
have not got to a point to be able to articulate it.
Yeah.
And I found for me that the more you talk about it, that is part of the healing process. But where did it click of the artistry you were in? And then, where did the roads meet of your journey about dealing with this and then your journey being an artist?
Yes. Thank you. Well, acting, I've been a full-time actor for a while, and also an educator as well, doing stuff, theater in schools and things. And so I'd always taken roles, which looking back, where there was definitely some trauma in in the characters, right? Which I didn't even realize before,
Yep.
like Raj in the Color Museum, you know, in The Dutchman by Mary Baraka, like all these roles that I was taking, I was working some things out and I had no idea. But when we got involved in the short, that John brought me into, that started me thinking differently. And I was like, Roxanne, this is something that I'm like, they're making a movie about sexual abuse? Oh no, we got to get involved in this. And we're always looking for something that we could use. How could we use art as a learning tool for social workers?
Facts. Yes,
and
sir.
So like that started us off thinking about it, right? And being involved in the project. Then things started to evolve where we were going to try to make a stage version for a doctor we were dealing with and stuff. And then John came to me and said, well, we need your story. And I had already been writing some things. And he's like, because we need balance. And so that just started to change the project, change just the show that we were working on completely. Because it went from this one character to two characters.
Okay.
My story, and then the other character that's kind of a composite of people that have disclosed to me, but also interviews and stuff from real survivors.
Gotcha.
Right, because when we were dealing with the doctor. And so that really started everything off. And in the film, I play the film, it's called Red Monster. I played the abuser. So as a survivor,
really,
the abuser, and like the scene has been, I'll say this to you, the scene is bananas. And I knew at that point that there was more. So when we started developing the show, the one-man show, and John asked for my writings, I knew right then that like, I'm in. Plus it's John, and John is incredible, and I trust him 1,000%. And we've been working together for a long time, and we have this special relationship. That's why I'm always like giving love to him. Like us, the fact that we're doing this version of the film version is all to make sure that people see his work, because he is incredible, but he doesn't get the love that he deserves. So once we started in that part and we did the show, then there was more, right? Okay. COVID, I've been dealing with shingles. And so I was living a COVID life before that because it was really bad. Like it was really bad. And so I started thinking about it, and I was like, no, there's more to do. There's more to do. And then I was like, you know what? We're going to be this nonprofit. We're going to be a nonprofit. We're going to call ourselves the Triggered Project. And there was pushback. A pushback from some of the folks on our early team about, should you call it Triggered? People going to think it's a gun, blah, 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 whatever. And, you know, we have the logo with the head, right? And the brain. And, you know, people were pointing me in a different direction. I said, no. I said, us as Black and brown people will be able to understand, seeing a Black man in a brain, that this has nothing to do with guns. And that was a pivotal point for us. You know what I mean? That was like me really thinking about the vision of this. And, you know, as my cousin said to me, look, like you're like every Black man, right? And this artwork is done by Dr. Natrice Gaskins. If you scroll down a little bit, that piece right there is by Natrice Gaskins. And, you know, the kente cloth in the behind, and, you know, we were like, no, this is the basis of it. And once we started doing this, then I was like, the next step, I went to Roxanne and I said, look, we're doing a podcast next week. And she said, what? And I said, we're doing a podcast next week. She's like, podcast, what's it called? I said, Living a Triggered Life. And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, okay, that's all right. I'm going to see you in 4 days in the studio. And in 4 days, we walked into the podcast garage, and I said, all right, here we go. And she's like, well, I don't know what to say. I said, don't worry about it. I'll interview you, and we'll be ready to go, because we need to tell our story, and we're going to get in this. And you're so brilliant. Roxanne is so brilliant and has been gaslighted to think that she's not, that I wanted to make sure that she was put in position so people could know
Mhm.
how dope she is and how much a savant
Let's
in
just
this.
name it that she was the first one that DM'd me. I was a little late, but Roxanne was the one that reached out because she let me know that at BAM's Fest. She was like, you're talking to him, but I was the one that messaged you. I was like, yes, ma'am.
But you know, the funny thing about that, this is why I love her though. The funny thing about that is most of the time, 99.9 of the times, I handle all business. But Roxanne, when she handles that 1%, she gonna let everybody know that she handled that 1%.
She did. She did. I was standing out there. It wasn't the sun I turned red that day. It was the fact that I was like, oops, I got busted. But
No,
you
it's
know, one of the things that I love, and we'll move on, but you talked about John and Roxanne, and I can see from you that you're about building, other people
yes.
and promoting them. And so I
Yeah.
definitely see and appreciate that.
Yeah, like no question. Like, I mean, it's important. I don't rock with that many people. You know, trust is important for me. Me as an actor and being in Boston and whatever, like everybody's always looking for a little bit of fame. So like folks will cut you, folks will say all kind of things for this little itty bitty thing of called fame, which really doesn't mean anything. So like, so when I rock with somebody, I rock with somebody. You know what I'm saying? And I've rocked with John for a long time, and um, I'm about, now that I rock with you, like I
Yes,
rock
sir.
with you, we rock. You know what I'm
But
saying?
bro, when I saw the description, I said, oh, because I'm terrible. I'll look at stuff real quick and skim. And then today, when I went to do a little bit of research, I said, oh, this is going to be good. Because as I said before, I've shared here, Carla Montero was on, who's a provider, and
Oh
others.
yeah, yeah, sister, we know Carla,
Yeah.
sister Carla.
Um, and it is, we've talked about this in the space before and have had some brothers talk about it. And it is just it is needed because we if we hold this stuff in, we're aware and we learned that the body remembers everything. The body
Yeah,
keeps record.
yes.
And so the more we talk about it, we begin to release it. And so, how did you get into, I believe this is a part of the Roxbury Film Festival. Let's talk about the event coming up on Friday.
Yes. Yeah. So, like I said, big shout out to Lisa Simmons for this opportunity and for her work in general with telling our stories. But we will be showing um, the filmed version of the motion picture live stage hybrid version that we developed last year during the pandemic at Portland Playhouse in the Roxbury Film Festival, 5:30 at the MFA. And the story is about, telling my story, but also there's another character called Ishmael. And he represents her brothers who can't speak and haven't spoken, because I think that's important to say. It's not
Mhm.
about, well, why don't you say something or whatever. Sometimes we just don't have the energy to speak. Sometimes it's not about strength. It's not about courage. It's not about any of that, right? Just because I'm speaking doesn't mean that I have more courage than someone who hasn't spoken yet,
That's right.
right? There's people say all the time, like, oh my God, you have this courage. I'm like, no, you have courage too, right? But having to tell ourselves the truth is the hardest thing ever. And we don't get enough credit for that, to be able to acknowledge it, to be able to deal with everything that comes with that alone, and sit with ourselves with that
That
is
part.
really hard. And so that's what Ishmael represents. And so we go through the journey with these two brothers and really see into their heads. When we talked about being activated or triggered, this film is meant to do that in so many ways. John has done such a great job of, and even Roxanne as well, as consulting us with what happens in the brain. You see exactly what happens in terms of that. You will feel hot. You will feel cool. You will smell.
Sweat.
Um, you will sweat. You will smell. Your youth in a great way. You will be triggered to great memories. So we take these two characters through this journey of talking about their abuse, and they end up in two different places, right? But the other part that's important about it is that there's a grounding that happens after, and then part of the talk back. And that's something that Roxanne leads. That's incredibly important that we've always done. And we're excited to show it here in Boston again. This rendition, the first rendition was done as the stage show at Hibernia Hall. And we involved the community in saying what they wanted to see. And then we were able to do it again at the Calderwood Pavilion, 2018. And, I had over 300 people come to see that. But this version is completely different. Also because I'm a little bit healthier. And I'm actually saying the lines that I'm supposed to say. Because that nerve pain had me saying all kind of other crazy things. But we're excited. We're really honored to be part of the Roxbury International Film Festival. And this is a discussion that everybody needs to be at. Everybody, politicians, anybody who has access to work,
providers, parents,
parents, social workers, like anybody, because we are missing the signs. Kids are telling us and speaking out loud, and we're missing the signs, and folks are being misdiagnosed in a lot of ways. And, a lot of what's behind substance abuse and violence a lot of times is this secret. And we're on a mission. This is a movement.
Yes, sir.
This is a movement. This isn't, we have been blessed to do this work here, in Boston, in New York, in Atlanta, in Portland, Oregon. We're about to go back out to LA to do some things. We just came back from Las Vegas Black Film Festival. We picked up 2 awards, Best Artistic Film. And then I got Best Actor somehow. Hold on.
We got all these bells and whistles. We might as well use them. But that's dope, brother.
You have a soul clap too? Because you got a soul clap.
I don't have a soul clap. Right, Roadcaster ain't there yet. They haven't made their drops DEI culturally competent yet.
Because you need a soul clap. You know what I'm saying?
Man, listen.
But so like, we're hoping to get to St. Croix this fall.
Wait. You going over into the islands and talk about this subject? Come on.
Look, man, look, are you showing up here? It might be as yourself is coming out now. Look, it's big, boy. Mine is running true. It's running true, beard, Barbados, and everything like crazy, man. So look, the dream is, yes, there's some Bayesian talk in the show, but my dream is to take this home here. My dream is to take it to the Caribbean and have the discussion that ain't nobody tall want to have here. So we're working on getting to St. Croix, working hopefully to get to Barbados. We're working to get to Italy. Like, I'm pushing. We pushing because, my mom couldn't speak. She was a survivor too. And my mom couldn't speak, yo. I talk about that in, Empty Frames that we did for the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, but like 5 out of my favorite 5 out of 6 of my favorite cousins. Like, come on one side. Like everywhere I go, people talk to me. This work is bigger than me.
Yes, sir.
And so like, I keep pushing. 80% no and 20% yes is what I get when I talk about this.
Yes, sir.
And so like, that's why the work is important. Like, I let the work speak for me. People can try to say whatever, but we try to make this work speak for us.
Yes, sir.
And that's why it's important, because if we don't open the doors and tell the story, nobody's going to tell it. We've got to create our own narrative around this, and we have to change the surviving to thriving, right? And I feel like having this opportunity to use my art, to do this, like how else can we do it? Art is part of our culture. art is what we know. Art is what's gotten us through. You know, we can listen, we can hear music and take us back, right, to a certain point in our life all the time. But there's more to that. We were all artists.
Yes, sir.
We were all artists. And I say to people all the time, like, they're like, how do you deal? I was like, yo, pick up the art that you put down and start there. Pick up the art that you put down and start there. But we're in these museums, right? The MFA, we need to show at the MFA that this is important, right? We need to make sure that we're here, that we represent. And when we have an opportunity to support the Roxbury International Film Festival, that we go and we show up. We got to show up. We got to show up and show out that our stories are important.
That's right.
And, you know, that's why this event is important. And this is going to be the only showing in Boston this year. This is going to be the only showing.
Wait. There's only one show that's tomorrow.
That's it. We're not right now. This is the only time Triggered Life, this movie version, this first version, because there's going to be a second version that we're going to get. But so let me explain it really quickly, though. What we did was we went to Portland Playhouse. Big shout out to Portland Playhouse. And we developed a motion picture live stage hybrid version. This is what this means. And this is groundbreaking, right? But this is also what happens when you work with somebody so dope, John Adewale Adekoje, that we start thinking about how we're going to do this. So we shot it's a monologue, right? Okay. There's two different characters that go back and forth. So we shot some of it as a movie in 6K, right? Then we used the theater like it was a studio. And then we shot live with 2 cameras, and I played both cameras. So the show goes from seeing movie to then seeing me live.
Wow.
And then we combine and we go back and forth. And then sometimes they show together, which has never, ever been done anywhere across the world.
The aesthetics of that is just, I can't even I'm trying to fathom like a split screen like we are here now. And I'm like, it's only bro, I'm like almost triple booked tomorrow. Lord have mercy, Jesus. I'm gonna have to.
Yes, this is but it's not, but it's done. I mean, but it's done brilliantly. And the folks in Portland Playhouse, and shout out to Ramona Alexander, because that's how we get out there. But like the way that it's done, so I've heard, is really impactful. And so yeah, that's the version that people are going to see. And you know, there is projection that's in it, but then John does a brilliant job of using colors and animation and whatever to really illustrate what is happening for both characters at that time. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's why I said people are meant to be activated. They're meant to want to talk about it because that's intentional.
Right. One of the things, though, I'm glad to hear, because I'm not a clinician, but I know that in these spaces, when these things arise and they're activated, you don't want to leave the people to go home, jump out in the car and have to hold all of this. And so the thing that I did hear that you all do a talk back and a grounding sort of after, because, you know, with a lot of folks, I'm sure there have been tears in the talk backs. I'm sure there have been breakthroughs right there, you know, and so I definitely want to applaud you and the team for making sure that happens. And given Roxanne's, you know, credentials and discipline, I'm sure that would not go on without that happening. Keith, we got to get ready to wrap up. But brother, I'm going to try tomorrow's just crazy. I'm going to try to figure out a way to get here. It's going to be interesting. But when you said it's only showing one time, I'm like, crap. I want to see this version before, you know, y'all come out with the other one. But it maybe we need to figure out a way to maybe screen it and get some brothers in for brothers only and figure this out as something, because it would, or snippets from it, whatever, because as folks are saying in the comments, and I really want to highlight some of the comments that are here from Lasagna. Keep telling your story. Someone's life is depending on it. God bless you, sir. Thank you for your transparency and authenticity.
Thank you.
Teresa is saying having this discussion internationally is huge and so needed. You are stronger than you know. Many, many, many thanks. God bless you, brother.
Thank you.
And
Thank
also someone did say here, where is it at? That the you brought that accent out real quick. But it you know it is needed, brother, and it is we need to be able to be honest and have these conversations in spaces where we're not judged. And one of the last things I'll say that stood out to me that people always talk about you got to be a truth teller and tell the truth and tell the truth and shame the devil. A lot of times that's in reference of you telling the truth to someone else or someone else being able to accept the truth from you. But you talked about the fact of sitting with yourself and telling yourself your listen. And in my case, it took about 47 years. And so there's just so much that we could unpack here that this we probably need to come in and do another session. I do want to let you know that I've got some support to do some storytelling. And so I definitely want to invite you to be one of my first. It's going to be a series, but one of the first folks to come and tell the story. Let me interview you, and it's going to be all cinema. What is it? Cinematographic and cinematography and all that other crap. Stuff
your stuff
you know about.
good.
Stuff that you know about. But I would love to have you tell your story because it is just so. The fact that you are doing this with your partner actively now and having that conversation, because some brothers will be able to have the conversation, but to actively talk about it in a relationship, where they do that at?
Look, that's why, I mean, thank you for that. I honor your pace of healing, brother. Like, it's not about the years that it took.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Because when it was time for you to speak, you spoke. Right. So we all have to treat ourselves with grace. But that's why the podcast is really important, right? Living a Triggered Life podcast. We're in the top 10 percentile. We're the top 10% for mental health podcasts, which is crazy. Partnership with the Museum of Science. And, a lot of people have said it's incredibly helpful. We haven't got, the press on it and whatever, but like, that's okay. Like, this is for us, right?
Yep.
This is for all relationships as well. For folks as survivors, yes, but for all of us. And it's important for everybody to listen to and support and get around because we're 100% authentic. It's not scripted at all.
That part.
And that's what, like I said, I was telling you before, that's why people love you, Jimmy, because you're authentic. And that's important. Just like when I talked about the podcast, what'd you do? You pushed your mic away and was like, Ninja, what? I need that. Like, that's what we need, right? Being 100% authentic.
Yes, sir.
That's what the podcast is. And it's important for people to get behind the podcast and listen to it. We have 16 episodes. We're about to end season 1. Like, it's a blessing to work with Roxanne, and to be able to have her support me around this is everything, right? It's everything. But to be 100% vulnerable in the way that I've had to be, the last thing I'll say is, and that's why, us doing this again or doing it with brothers and whatever, because I had to redefine what it meant for me to be a man. Because all the things that I learned about being a man growing up, Vision, was all the same things that were in the way of my healing. All the things that I learned about being a man were all the same things that were in the way of my healing. That's why it's important for me to get to the Caribbean and to have these discussions and get to Europe and get to these other places, because we have to redefine for ourselves what our manhood means. I'm not talking about Vogue and what other people want to tell us, but I had to figure out what type of man I wanted to be.
And let's not just name Vogue. Let's reverse it and say not what our own, because our Black manhood, and I'm getting this in real time, is so influenced by those that are lighter than me.
Yes.
Back from slavery times, and we unfortunately have perpetuated this buck and this, whatever around our stature, our demeanor, and
Yeah.
whatnot. And bro, oh my God.
Yes. So like, yes.
Whew.
So that stuff's incredibly important. And let me just give a big shout out to Kevin Powell. He has a movie coming out that's talking about the evolution of the Black man. He has really inspired me, as I'm working on this book. But that was being able to have that conversation with him was just really powerful. I'm in the movie. He interviewed me for it and stuff. That's coming out soon. But that is an important discussion, right? Just within that alone. You know what I'm saying? And so, maybe it is what it is Java with Jimmy and, the Trigger Project, presents, a night of triggered life and healing.
That's look. That could be an after dark, because we need to be able to have a real hard convo.
I'm in.
So listen, and I got a spot. I told you somebody just reached out and said, come to Newberry Street. What? Okay.
Here's how it is, right? It's already done.
Yes, sir.
We bring the movie or whatever, we bring the folks, and we just, you know what I mean? We make it happen. Whether we write the grant or not or whatever, you know what I'm saying? We can make it happen. And us teaming up together, you know what I'm saying, is important. And this is what it is. But let me make sure, because I feel like, you know what I'm saying, I need to get my hat on, you know what I'm saying, because we both got that new era stuff on. A little bit of branding.
No, hold on. Well, I can go back and do it later, but the screen, hold on. Y'all excuse us for 1 minute. We're about to do some social media picture. Hold on. Let me get this real good, and then we can go ahead and post it on Twitter later. I'm about to take a screenshot. Hold on, man. Where's this crap at? Where is Cat? Lord Jesus, all these screens. Okay, here we go. That picture came out dope.
That's how. I didn't look. I wasn't trying to. I could have my Trigger Project background or whatever, but I was like, I'm going. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a guest on the show, so you know what I mean.
Listen, I ain't messing with you, sir, brother. I really, timing is everything. And I'm so glad that you made me turn red that day. We were in Franklin Park, but timing is everything, and I'm glad that we're connected, and I'm glad that there's some things that we'll be able to do together, because, bro, we got to prepare for these young people coming up post-pandemic. And unfortunately, we were aware, and we've named this on the show, that reports of sexual abuse went down because our young people weren't in school and they weren't being reported, but they were home longer with the perpetrators, brother. And so the impact in that concentrated level post-pandemic, somebody going to really need to sit and be able to process, have them watch the movie, and somebody's going that live this is going to be able to need to sit with them and deal with this, because we have not seen the impact yet of that and other things that were a result of the pandemic. So
yes, let me say this real quick.
Yes, sir.
I'm in the schools and stuff, being a teaching artist and things like that. So definitely, that's why the third part, which I didn't get to talk about, the Inner Monologue Sneaker Art Project, is important, because leading folks through the monologue, through creating monologues about their inner feelings, right? Which is important, and stuff that's happened in the last 2 years and COVID, what it's like to live a Zoom life, asking them 3 words that define them, helping them really create what their narrative is. And then we're writing them on a pair of shoes as a political act, right? But also to remind them of their narrative
and their pace of their journey, because they got to keep on
right. And then also in response to them walking down the street and being judged all the time. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that's what the project is. But in terms of young folks right now, if folks that are talking about education, if you're not talking about how to stabilize kids as they come into the classroom, you're not talking about anything, right? And the one thing that I've always done, you do check-ins or whatever, but now, even with the lessons, I got kids on the floor meditating for 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and teaching them tools to deal with this anxiety. This anxiety is off the hook. It's off the hook.
Anxiety, depression.
Exactly. Right. And so giving them time to ground themselves is incredibly important. And it's not, we haven't taken care of our educators, number one,
You want
because
to
we
get some
expected the
whole-
educators to take care of people. We haven't taken care of them. That's one reason why we're going to be doing some of this monologue work with, some educators, right? We're going to go into Salem State, it's possibly to be able to work with their staff in their social work school, right? How do we rejuvenate, the educators in the same way we rejuvenate the kids? Because that's important. We put everybody back into this environment that's not safe, but we're expecting great things. That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me at all.
We were doing that. We were doing that before the pandemic. So
exactly. Right. But that acknowledgement, but we need to acknowledge what our kids are going through, and to be able to have these honest conversations with them and give them tools to be able to deal, because the self-medication of trees, which we'll talk about, which people are pointing towards, the self-medication of video games, the self-medication of the phones, right? All those three things are incredibly powerful that we're not necessarily acknowledging. Why are kids wanting to play video games all the day? Because they want to escape what's really happening in their real life.
Yep.
Right? Where it's
social media,
social media, Instagram, it's like this fake life that people are putting out is better than a real one. And so those signs are there, and we're having a hard time as adults dealing with our own ish to get to the kids' ish. And that's why also the art. That's why the art, because the art cuts through everything. You can't get away from, you can try to hide, but that's not going to work.
The art is going to, oh my God.
The art's going to speak. That's why going into these spaces and telling our stories and using the art is incredibly important. That's why I was like, I had to think of, three different ways, the one man show, but then also too, the audible. How do we hear, right? We need to hear discussions, right?
The old church folks used to say that the ears are a soul gate. You know what I mean? And words matter. So,
right. So words matter. Having this discussion about how to deal in a relationship, in a marriage, with folks being triggered, then yes, we need to feed that too. But then when we're talking about the other part with the kids and whatever, and some survivors that we've worked with, some brothers coming home with the Inner Monologue Sneaker Art Project, right? Then we're putting it all together, right? Because then you got to write it, you got to color and whatever else, but then you got to speak it, and then you got to hear. You got to hear those words yourself as you're talking to somebody else, and then somebody else is going to hear it. So that all of that together
is healing,
right? And sometimes that's how we have to do it. We have to use. And that's even, you talk about even your platform or whatever, there's a lot of art that's involved in it. There's no question about it. It comes down even to your voice. Your voice is soothing, right? I've been excited and whatever, but I know when I need to bring it down, right? Mm-hmm. I know how to talk to people in a certain way that is authentic, but I open my soul in some ways when we talk to people. That is also the other thing, the audible part of it. How do we talk to our kids, right? How do we talk to other people? That's why the podcast is important. How do we talk to your mate about whoever you deal with, about what's going on, right? If you raise your voice and y'all get activated and you go back and forth, then how do you debrief that, right? There's so many times Roxanne will be in a situation and whatever, sometimes it'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden we're like, and we just start
Y'all went back and debriefed the argument?
Oh, no, most definitely. That's why you have to listen to podcasts. Yes. We debrief what happened and be like, okay, so what happened in that moment? And she was like, oh, well, this is how I felt, Keith. And, and this is what I was thinking and whatever. And I was like, you know what? Well, this is where I was thinking. And we break down where the activation happened to the point where, boo? And this
but it helps for the next time, though. That way, when you're triggered or activated, Keith, I got to get you off of here, man, because I got to go get ready for 5:00. But there is just so much, folks, and I say this, here and there, but this one definitely. Please make sure that you share this with some brothers, some parents, some sisters, sisters that y'all talk among yourselves and you're saying, I don't know what's wrong with him. This might be the issue. You know what I mean? So just, and ladies and brothers, whatever your preference is, y'all can be slick. Hey, baby, I saw this interesting thing on Facebook today and it caught my attention. Come on, let's sit down. And then you sit there and you throw your legs up over his lap and make him stay there and watch it. But listen, Keith, I appreciate you, man. I am going to try to come through, even if it's briefly for tomorrow. But if not, know that my support is definitely there. We got folks like Thaddeus Miles, who's in the room talking about great show and whatnot. And so we definitely need to follow up. I'll be honest, it'll probably be around the middle of July, because after tonight, I'm taking a couple of weeks, and I know you got a lot going on as well. But folks, before you go, don't forget, you can go to Eventbrite and search the Roxbury International Film Festival and navigate your way to this event here. It's only $15 and it is an investment. And so if you're not doing anything tomorrow evening, planner, it's only 90 minutes out of your time. Go by and check it out. And also the website, brother, is I put it in the comments, but what's the call letters for the not call letters, but the website is the triggeredproject.org.
.com. www.triggered1.com. And there's also
Triggered
a virtual Triggered One, yes, as in
Triggered number 1.com. So is this right here?
Yes. Check out the work.
That it?
TRED.com. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Check, people listen to the podcast. We're on all platforms.
Okay.
Come through tomorrow. There's a virtual option as well.
Okay.
So
that's good to know.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people can do that. The film is about an
49
hour.
minutes. Put this thing up here.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the talk back, is and the grounding and talk back is after.
Okay.
So we appreciate you.
Oh man,
so much, man.
This is a pleasure, sir.
It's always special to get on here, especially with someone else who understands in a big way. And we have to do more as, survivors to thrivers, to support each other in our work. So that I got you. I got you.
I got you, bro.
100%.
Off from here.
And I applaud you for your work and where you're going. And I'm blessed to be part of that journey. So
and I'm blessed to be part of yours. We're about to get on the road together here, man. So all right, brother. I appreciate you, man. And we will talk soon.
No doubt. I appreciate it. Everybody that's out there, thank you so much for listening and for your comments. I greatly appreciate it. This work is bigger than me, and we're gonna keep moving for sure.
Keep on pushing. All right, sir.
Yes.
I'll be in touch,
as my grandmother say, boy, you gotta keep pushing. True.
That I'm telling you, people are going to go back just to watch the part earlier when you let it come out, brother. I appreciate you, man, and I'll definitely be in touch.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.
Sir. Yes, sir. Peace.
Peace.
Listen, that was we've had some very good interviews, but that brother, just appreciate his transparency and everything that he shared. And this is a sensitive a topic that I have an affinity towards. So, and we've been kind of, on social media for a while trying to connect. And so timing is everything. Thank you all for tuning in today. Don't forget, if you did not register, I believe registration is still open. Go ahead and register for this evening's event. I'm getting ready to get off of here, go and do everything I need to do to get ready. I'm nervous, y'all. This is, and somebody, one of the staff persons from one of the guests said, this is just like Java with Jimmy, except it's on the waterfront. Yeah, I've been saying that all the time, but now it's like it's getting real. So hopefully we'll see you this afternoon at 5:00. We are scheduled to do something tomorrow at 8 a.m. But I'm waiting to get a confirmation if the young lady is available to talk about another event that's going on this weekend. And so I will keep you all abreast of that. All right. That is it for me today. We will see you guys tentatively tomorrow at we'll see you this evening at 5 p.m. here. Peace.